drawing on the expertise of Dries Veldhuizen, a professor and accomplished student of peace studies at the University of UNISA. Martin Scott of MBBI, Mediators Beyond Borders International. Siam Boda, a highly accomplished community mediator with 25 years experience working with schools, government, women's groups, and the like. And a very impressive head of MBBI, Prabha Sankaranyaram, who guides us in our distribution of skills as to how to be community mediators. So what we did was we decided, with a view to the 100 years of Rotary in Johannesburg, which was to be celebrated in 2022, or 21 it might have been, to create 5 cohorts of 20 trainee mediators. We established a global grant with Grant and Anna Marie's expertise, and we had at the time a wonderful colleague who was based in Durban, Martin, who regrettably passed away, but he also helped us with the global grant fantastically, and we were able to establish the funds necessary to get MBBI paid to do the work with us with these cohorts. And then, because it was all through COVID, we were busy establishing connectivity with 20 or 30 learners per cohort. And then there was quite an intensive program for 2 or 3 weeks per cohort, where they would come online and work for 2 or 3 hours every afternoon, because we had to link it up with the American time frame. And MBBI was able to draw on its various teachers, people from all over the world who'd been involved in conflict mediation, but particularly at the community mediation level, teaching people how to analyze the community, how to analyze the strengths and weaknesses in the different interest groups in the community, the ability to use those insights and analysis skills to communicate within the community and enable the community to resolve its own conflicts over time with the skills available. The Makerere Center was a center with which we established a connection, and I know Martin Scott from MBBI went there last year, said it was going fantastically well, came back with tremendously good reports on the progress being made in Makerere. It was chosen as the peace center, the latest peace center established by Rotary International and its peace initiatives. And we were all quite envious that it got that accolade, but it's perfectly suited in the area of the world that we're all in to distribute the skills of peace negotiation, and in particular community mediation, which is the ARCOM focus, which is quite a lot narrower than peace studies generally. It's very dependent on the MBBI expertise. Ours is a close relationship with MBBI. Prabha and Martin have been particular stalwarts there. And as the Ukraine war broke out, and as the Israeli problems with Palestine and the Palestinian people have evolved recently, we've all been very closely in communication with each other, reinforcing the message that despite these setbacks, which have happened during the time when we were hoping to increase peace and tranquility in the world, it seemed as if we were going in the opposite direction. It underlined the importance of our doing what we do on the fringes, narrowing the space for the extreme problems that we are seeing in the world, and to keep our spirits up and keep fighting on the edges towards the center until hopefully we, through these skills and the expertise of our friends in America and all over the world in MBBI, are able to narrow the gaps between people so that these problems are diminished. Prabha has been a particularly strong force, as has Siham, who's got a lot of experience in the South African context. Dries has got remarkable expertise and learning. And so we've all benefited enormously from the contact with these great Rotarians who, as I'm sure you'll agree, are the kinds of people we all enjoy meeting, and it's one of the great benefits of being a Rotarian. So I personally haven't been to Makerere, and I haven't had much direct contact with it, but I would extend our ongoing support to Makerere and appreciation for their cooperation with us. And we look forward to more time working with Makerere in our region and across the continent to improve things for all of our people. Thank you, Grace. I will now go back to my glasses, which help me see things a lot more clearly.
From the Rotary Action Group for Peace, he is the current chair, Michael Hayes. He's also a past district governor, and his motto regarding peace is that we should all be intentional about peace. So, Michael, over to you.
Grace, thank you. Yes, the Rotary Action Group for Peace is really taking a focus on positive peace this year. We're working on a number of projects, a Positive Peace RILA that teaches young people who have been through RILA how to utilize the 8 pillars of peace as problem-solving tools and to develop new ways to solve problems. But being intentional about peace is keeping peace front of mind. So, for example, when you're doing a project in a community, thinking about how can I engage different aspects, different segments of this community to engage and interact and make the community closer knit, tighter space, and build sustainable relationships so that you can have sustainable communities. The same thing is true in your personal life. Being intentional about peace means being intentional about personal peace, about peace in the family, about peace in your interrelationships, and what you want to focus. What we're asking people to focus on is that intentionality, making that intentionality a habit, making it a behavior, making it something that you can carry as a carry forward as an example to other people so that they can learn to be intentional about peace and can make peace a habit. So being intentional about peace means not getting caught up in the focus of the day, not getting caught up in the news cycle. One of the things that we've been challenged this week is to come up with a response about the situation in Israel, and the response that I'm giving, not as the official position of the Rotary Action Group for Peace, but as chair, as my official position, is not to think about, we're not going to issue a value judgment on what's happening, either the attacks from one side or the attacks on the other, but instead what we're focused on is feeling empathetic and identifying with the victims. And there are victims across this entire across the entire spectrum of this activity, this action, this horror story that's unfolding in the Middle East that you can get caught up in. But what we need to be focused on as peacemakers is when this activity, when the bombs stop falling and people are starting to work on putting their lives back together in the period of recovery, what are those activities and what are those actions that we can intentionally put in place that will bring about change, that will bring about a focus on how can we improve this situation? How can we build a positive future? The same thing, whether it's a war or an earthquake or a family violence issue, how can we be intentional about helping to build a positive future? And so when I talk about let's be intentional about peace, let's work toward those outcomes that contribute to lasting, sustainable peace in our lives, in our communities, and in our world. So, Grace, I'm not sure if that's what you wanted me to talk about, but that's what I brought.
Thank you very much, Michael. That's perfect. There's no script when we talk about peace, because peace means different things to different people. So thank you very much. And I agree with you. We do need to be intentional about peace. And I think peace starts with each one of us, and we all have a role to play. I'm going to introduce you to DGE Anne Mkuntu, who is one of my fellow colleagues in peace building, specifically in Africa. So Anne is a gender and M&E consultant. She joined Rotary in 2011 and is a charter member of the Rotary Club of Kampala-Nyala. She has served Rotary in different positions at club and district level, has served as Rotary Host Area Coordinator of the Makerere University Rotary Peace Center, has among others served as Country Chair, Uganda, Membership Chair for District 9213, and is currently the District Governor-elect for District 9213. She is also an eminent woman of the Women's Situation Room, Uganda, a mechanism that promotes peace before, during, and after elections. So, Anne, I'm going to hand over to you.
So I'm going to speak about the Rotary Peace Centers globally, which is a program of the Rotary Foundation. And I'll just give you a very short background, and then Professor Helen will then speak a bit more about the Rotary Peace Center in Makerere. So the Rotary Peace Centers is actually one of the programs of the Rotary Foundation. And the objective of the Peace Fellowships is to build a cadre of peace builders across the world. And the idea is to have people at the community level operating in different spaces who will promote peace building initiatives. And the whole idea goes way back to, goes as far as 1916. That is not when the Peace Centers started, but that's when Rotary's quest for peace started. It actually started a little earlier, I think in 1914, around the time of World War I. And that is when Rotarians at that time, called the International Association of Rotarians, began to think of ways and means in which Rotary could lend itself to, peace, to promoting peace efforts across the world. And so in 1916, Paul Harris made a profound statement that the way to war is a well-paved highway, and the way to peace is still a wilderness. This was 1916, and I think you'll agree that it is as valid as it was in 1916 as it is in 2023. We still have not quite found our way to peace. It's so much easier to start war than it is to promote peace. And so Rotarians started grappling with this. And around 1922, as they're still thinking, how do we promote peace? This was now after the World War. They then came up with the fourth object of Rotary. And that was the whole idea of promoting world understanding as a way of building peace. The idea was that if they had more people understanding each other, understanding where they come from, how they do, whatever it is that happens in other parts of the world, that perhaps people would see that we have more similarities than differences and would be able to appreciate those differences and therefore find more agreeable ways of resolving. So that quest went on until 1942, as the world was now beginning to look for consensus, as the whole idea of the UN was coming up. Rotarians remained engaged in the process and were invited to the UN conference in 1945 as consultants to the US delegation, and others came from other parts of the world. And all this was in recognition of Rotary's contribution or Rotarians' interest in peace. And since then, Rotary actually has one of the highest consultative statuses at the UN, and that was because of their consistent endeavors to promote peace. Now, in 1997, as Rotarians were thinking of a way of commemorating Paul Harris's the 50th anniversary of his death, the idea of promoting peace in a more tangible way came up. And this was in recognition of his efforts throughout of trying to promote peace. And so the idea of having some sort of academy came up. So initially there were ideas of having an academy, but eventually the consensus was to start the Rotary Peace Centers. And so the agreement to start the Rotary Peace Centers was passed in 1999. And the Peace Centers, I think the first Peace Center opened in 2002. So since then, Rotary has opened 7 Rotary Peace Centers across the world. And these peace centers are in these different continents, in the US, in Europe, in Australia. We have one in Japan. Until recently, there was one in Thailand. Unfortunately, it closed down. And we have one in Makerere University. And 2 years from now, we're going to have another center in the Middle East. The idea of having these centers, by the way, 5 out of the 7 peace centers offer master's programs, and which are 2-year programs. It's only the university, previously Chula in Thailand, and Makerere University that were offering a certificate course. But the idea of having Makerere University and now the one in the Middle East was really to ensure that the peace centers are located in the regions, first of all, where there is more conflict, and you'll probably agree that Africa has about 50% of the active conflicts going on. And then, of course, we have the Middle East. And the idea was to bring fellows from these regions who have a better understanding of the local context, and therefore have a better understanding of what the underlying causes of conflict are in these regions, and would then be able to come up with ideas on how to promote peace. Because over the years, and I applaud you for the work that you're doing on mediators. So previously, Rotary was focusing very much on peace and conflict resolution. But as experience shows, it is much, much harder to resolve a conflict once it's started. I mean, we've all seen from Ukraine how long it took. Who thought it would go as far as it has, and it seems to be escalating every passing day. Now we have Israel and Palestine. That has been going on for decades. And so Rotary decided that based on its own capabilities, it would probably be able to do more preventing conflict than resolving conflict. And so now there's greater emphasis on conflict prevention. And we do conflict prevention, obviously, in the 7 areas of focus through the work that we do. But the idea of the peace centers was to have a much more intentional, a much more peace-focused approach to the way we undertake projects. And so the peace fellows that come to the centers, and I think Dr. Helen will speak more about that, come from a diversity of backgrounds. They come in from all sorts of backgrounds, including, they come in from NGOs. You have people from research academies, people from the UN. You have people who are in the military security agencies. You have journalists, you have agriculturalists. And so the idea is that because the causes of conflict are so diverse, so must the catalysts of peace be. And that is why the Peace Fellows come from so many different disciplines. and come up with very diverse ideas on how to promote peace. Now, since the program began, I think to date, probably there have been over 1,500 Peace Fellows. I think the last time I checked, this number has gone up, and I should have corrected it. And they're from more than 115 countries across the world. And so this program goes on. As I said, there's the master's program, and then there's the fellowship. And applications for the program open every year in February, between February and May every year. If you Google and go to the Peace Centers, the application process is open. And so I would like to encourage you to invite all the people that you think are eligible for the Peace Program, people who you think are committed to the Peace Program. The Master's Program focuses on people who are just beginning their careers, while the Certificate Program focuses more on people who are mid-career and have already shown commitment to working in the area of peace or promoting peace. I don't want to preempt what Professor Helen is going to say, but that is about how much it costs per fellow. And that is the reason why we are having this peace concert. And I think PDG Robert will speak a little bit more about that. So in brief, that is what the Peace Centers is all about. And I hope that all the people on call will go on to promote the program so that we have more people from Southern Africa participating in the peace program. I think so far in the Peace Center in Makerere, we haven't had anybody from South Africa, although we've had from Namibia, Botswana, Malawi, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique, but I think we haven't had anybody from South Africa. So I hope this will be an opportunity for you to promote. So thanks again, Grace.
I'm going to introduce Helen Nambalerwa Nkambala. She's the Center Director of the Makerere University. So Helen is an associate professor in the Department of Religion and Peace Studies at Makerere University, where she has worked since 2004. She studied at VID MHS, Stavanger and University of Bergen in Norway, Coventry, UK, University of Cape Town, South Africa, and Makerere University in Uganda. She has a passion for analyzing the use of biblical text with a violent message to justify violence. And I found that very interesting, and I hope you're going to expand a little bit more on that one. Since 2005, Helen has supervised many masters and PhDs in the field of peace studies and continues to teach conflict analysis and conflict transformation, as well as the fundamentals of peace building to graduate students. In addition to her classwork, Helen is a trainer and has worked with various institutions. Among them are AIPR Foundations of Mass Atrocities, SIT, Developing and Maintaining Collaborative Relationship, UNMIS, Staff in Conflict Transformation, as well as Social Cohesion, and the Uganda Police Force, as well as the Uganda Prison Service in Peace Building, Conflict Transformation and Development. She has won grants as principal investigator from the United States Department U.S. Embassy in Uganda, USIP, Alaborda Fund, Mellon Foundation, UN Women MasterCard Foundation, and the Elsie Fund, among others. Helen is an AHP postdoc fellow and a CA-PREX postdoc fellow under the Cambridge Africa Partnership. She's a former member of the Makerere University Council 2019 to 22, where she served for 4 years as the chairperson of the study of student affairs, among others. More recently, she was appointed as a member of the Makerere University Senate. Helen is also the Deputy Vice Chairperson of the Steering Committee, Grants Management and Support Unit at Makerere University. She's a member of the Uganda Government Grants Management Committee of Makerere University, and she is an inaugural director of the first and so far the only Rotary Peace Center in Africa hosted at Makerere University, and she's also a Paul Harris Fellow. I don't think we can have anyone more educated on peace than Professor Helen, and we're very honored to have you. And with that, I'm going to hand over to you, Professor.
I hope everyone can see. It's indeed a pleasure and an honor to be with you this evening, and thank you so much for coming together to learn about the Rotary Peace Center, but also to run the cause of the Rotary Peace Center around the continent and beyond. So friends, I would like to start by telling you that the Rotary Peace Center at Makerere University was inaugurated on the 9th of January 2020. And when we started, we took the 1 year writing the course. And after the 1 year, we were happy to welcome our very first Rotary Peace Fellows in the Feb of 2021. Now, you may all remember that that was a time when we were grappling with COVID, but we managed to have our fellows on ground for cohort 1. They successfully finished, and so was cohort 2. And today, we pride in having the 6th cohort on ground. The Rotary Peace Center is located in the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, in the Department of Religion and Peace Studies, and that should give you kind of an idea on my area of interest of research. We have received, like we have heard from our governor-elect, that we have had different people coming. We have so far had one male person who was a person with disabilities, and he was in a wheelchair. He belonged to our first cohort, and we were glad that he could allow to come down to us. We have also had several fields, and currently the fields of cohort 4 that we have not, cohort 6 that we have not added. We do have actually a pilot on ground. We have police officers now on ground and teachers, class teachers. So it's really exciting to see how the center is growing, especially in terms of the fields of focus and the much kind of interest that is growing. And as already the district governor-elect said, we have had people from different countries on the continent, and so far we are priding in 37 countries. What I must clarify here is that we have a rule of 70% from the continent. So we have had 70% from the continent and 30% from elsewhere. And when we say from elsewhere, it's really all the way. So we have had people from South America, we have had people from North America, we have had from Europe, and also Asia. So the center has really grown. We have so far hosted from 37 countries. And most of our fellows, as DG said, are really people who are in their career. They are peace builders. So they are really people who are in their evenings of the career or the middle level. They are people who have practiced and have worked in peace building efforts. And also those that are admitted for now must either have worked in Africa or they have interest in working in Africa and they have a connection with the continent. So far we do not yet take in those that have not worked on the continent or have not run any projects on the continent, but hopefully that could also be opened up. Now, when we are teaching peace at Makerere University, first of all, I must emphasize that we do have 40 fellows per year. But these 40 fellows are divided into 2 cohorts, and each cohort has 20. And thanks to you all Rotarians, each Rotary Peace Fellow is well catered for with a stipend, and each Rotary Peace Fellow is paid for tuition. All field arrangements are paid for. And it is part of this why there is this cause for the Peace Concert. Because without your support, these fellows cannot exist. And each Rotary Club can choose to sponsor a fellow at the cost that was already flashed by the DG, and I will not flash it again. So we do teach to make contextual meaning and relevance. And what we mean here is that we are teaching to make sure that we concentrate on the challenges that we have on the continent, challenges that span from physical challenges, economic challenges, social challenges. So when our Peace Fellows go out there, they must respond to a challenge within their community, and we say within their countries, and those that are not coming from the continent are implementing a social initiative on the continent. And also we try our best to prepare them to build strong communities of engagement. And that's why we blend theory and practice. And what we mean here, our course is almost 60% because it's 59 point something percent in the field, and the rest is in class because they need the theory in order to be able to make good practice. And then we also do collaborative teaching and learning approaches, and that's why we have partners such as the Institute of Economics and Peace that we are all aware of, and the Mediators Beyond Borders, where we work with our colleagues in South Africa also to promote the mediation. We also build local partnerships, and these local partnerships are either with government or other funders, but also with local Rotarians. When they have projects, they come together and partner with either the Peace Fellows or the Peace Center to respond to a challenge within the community. Some of the work that has been done by the Peace Fellows, this was done by the cohort 1. So it goes all the way from socio-economic interventions to women youth empowerment, knowledge and skills for the youth. But also we have had Peace Fellows bringing together children to take them through literacy. And just about 2 days ago, one of our fellows in Nigeria was launching another funding agency, something that grew out of her social initiative, which she implemented while she was a cohort 3 fellow. We've had peace journalism. We have had tackling information disorder or misinformation and disinformation. So these are some of the issues that the fellows go back to respond to. In cohort 2, we had fellows also tackling issues of literacy for girls. We had issues around strengthening ex-combatant reintegration. We had the use of craft and trade. We had actually Peace Fellows go to the refugee camps to actually respond to the challenges that are denying cohesion between host communities and the refugees. And to move ahead, cohort 3, they were looking at how to use technology in building the youth capacity to fight violence. We have had Sports for Peace, and I'm also again glad and proud to say our fellow who implemented Sports for Peace in Liberia has gone on actually to win more grants, and he's really using Sports for Peace in Liberia. And we know that the president of Liberia and Sports for Peace, we have seen a connection there, and this fellow is really thriving and going on to create change. We have also had issues around climate change, and we have also had some of the social initiatives responding to relationships between the community and the natural kind of environment. And what I mean by the natural, we are looking at the different game parks that we've had and how the neighbors are attacked by the animals. And one of our Peace Fellows is implementing an initiative where they are planting pepper, which will be for economic gain, but also because when the animals come and see the red pepper, they run away thinking it's fire, so they cannot attack the community. So that bridge, these are some of the things that we are doing to ensure that there is peace building, because we believe peace building is not only for humans, but also the environment around us. So, and it's upon that background that I would interest you to join us next week on the 18th, so that you are able to hear some of the initiatives by cohort 4. So it was clearly by choice that I decided not to tell you, so that you can join us on the 18th next month, the whole day. It will be live streamed, so that you can hear some of these social initiatives. So where do we want to go, or where are we going? We are saying that we already want to harness the efforts of the existing structures at the different peace centers, especially ours. We want to shift from the silos to collaboration, because you cannot do peace building in silos. And we know that collaboration is the way to go. That's why we reach out to all those that we know that we can work with to ensure that we promote peace, not only on the continent, but also beyond. Then we also want to promote the multinational and multi-sector engagements, because, as I said, peace building is not an issue of only humans. Peace building spans all the way. And it's for this reason that we see fellows coming from all fields. I will just give a quick example of one of our fellows from cohort 2 who implemented a social initiative on baby boxes. Now, baby boxes were from Finland, but she tried it out here with the mothers in Uganda, and it went well. And if funds allow, or if someone comes on to really support something about maternal health, then baby boxes are something that they can do, because our fellows showed us that it is something that can be very good. Then we also want to establish that regional peace research chairs. And by regional peace research chairs, we want to respond to issues in the different regions. We know what has been happening in West Africa. We know what is happening in Sudan, just above us here. We know what is happening in the different parts of the world, but most especially different parts of the continent. And all we are saying is that we want to come together and see how we create different chairs. And these chairs come from interest, where someone will say, I am willing to fund a research on the issue of Palestine and Israel. They are just at our neighborhood. And therefore, that peace chair is established as a research. And research is critical because it will also continue to inform our implementation. But also we want to build the continental peace hubs for teaching, practice, and intervention, because those hubs are critical and they will enable us visit the different centers and different areas in order for us to implement. So we want to build that peace park where we can all go. Why? Because Rotary has had the vision of peace since as far as 1921. So would like to set up that peace park for public community meetings where people can come and feel at peace and be together and talk about critical issues. We want to bring prominent authors. We want to bring economists, scientists, politicians. We want them to comment on the different issues that are happening from the perspective of peace advancement in the world. So how do you join? And I would like to add my voice to that of my DG by saying that, first of all, it is very important to look out for the call in early Feb. So early Feb, the call goes out, but the first thing that happens is they do an eligibility test. And this eligibility test, I will say rightly out, that as Rotarians, you have decided that a serving Rotarian does not qualify for the sponsorship because you are the sponsors. However, Rotaractors do qualify. So once someone goes through the eligibility test, we go through the application process, and the process has to go through the different clubs that have to recommend. And please, when someone reaches out and you feel that they are competent, please recommend them. And then after that, it goes to the district, and from the district, we go to the final steps where it goes to the universities and then Rotary International. And then finally, the successful candidates are notified. And I'm glad to say that cohort 7 and 8 have now been chosen, and they'll be notified shortly by Rotary International. And where do we want to go? We have a strategic vision. I said we want to create peace hubs, but as a peace center, we want to be that African Center of Excellence in peace and conflict studies and conflict transformation. We want to establish and operationalize a mediation center. That's why we are working very closely with colleagues from South Africa, with Mediators Beyond Borders, and whoever has the interest around that to see how we can establish this. It is something that is not only needed in the country, but the continent needs it. We need a space where we can ably go and be sure that we shall be able to talk about the different things and we shall feel safe and come out after mediation. So we also want to run peace clinics. We know that different institutions grapple with issues of the youth, drugs, and issues around violence. If we run peace hubs, then we shall be able to proceed. And as researchers, we want to establish the think tank which will respond to issues of policy matters. So mine is a clarion call to pray and request that once this call reaches you, please support the peace concert, because support for the peace concert is support for peace on the continent. Sending a fellow to Makerere University is making change or creating change in our different environments. And as I conclude, I would say that every man needs to have a peaceful place to contemplate. If you do not have such a place, you must find one. I thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Professor Helen. That was really insightful. And I think now that we understand what the application process is, and we promote Peace Fellows within Southern Africa, especially because it seems like we're the only part of the continent that hasn't used the Makerere Peace Center, that we can actually have some Peace Fellows coming from Southern Africa to attend the Peace Center going forward. Who is PDG Robert Wagawa Nazibirwa. He's a practicing entrepreneur with over 20 years of business leadership experience. He is the co-founder and group CEO of the Africa Coffee Academy, with offices in Burundi, Kenya, and Tanzania. He's the co-founder and executive director of Ashland Motors Africa Limited, dealers in VW and Leyland Automobiles, co-founder and executive chairman of Bridge Credit Finance, amongst others. He's a consultant with the World Bank and the United Nations International Trade Center in commodity risk management, especially in coffee and cotton. He is the chairman of Greenhill Holdings, limited owners of Greenhill Academy Schools, chairman Uganda Coffee Federation, council member of Nigeria University, board member of Habitat for Humanity, board member of Tondeka Metro Company, chairman of World Class Team Limited. He's the co-founder and director of Health Heart Foundation and a trustee of the CEO Summit, amongst others. This is a huge CV, PDG. Robert is a Rotarian, and he has served as the district governor for Rotary District 9211, covering Uganda and Tanzania in 2015 and 16. He is an adjunct faculty staff of Strathmore University Business School of Kenya. Robert is the second deputy premier and minister for finance, investments, planning and economic development in Buganda Kingdom, Uganda. Currently, he in Rotary is a team leader for Vijana Poa, Every Youth Working Initiative, and a team leader for Rotary Mkosi Hospital Accident and Emergency Center. He's a graduate of statistics and holds a Master's of Economics in Economic Policy and Planning from the Makerere University. And he's a fellow emeritus of the Center for the Study of African Economics, Oxford University in the United Kingdom. I'm not going to give your date and your birth, PDG, but he is currently the Peace Major Gifts Initiative Advisor for 2023 to 2026.
So thank you so much for hosting us. And I'm going to talk about the Africa Peace Concert and the third edition. This is the third edition we are holding on 3rd November this year. And Uganda, as you may know or not know, we are the biggest host to refugees in African continent, but I think also in the world. We have close to 2 million refugees in Uganda. We are in the middle of Great Lakes, where a lot of action of conflict happens from Congo, Burundi, Sudan, and everywhere. We have refugees from as far as Somalia, Eritrea, and Ethiopia, and Central African Republic. And when we all bid with South Africa and the rest to host this, we are in Makerere hosting the African Peace Center of Rotary in Africa. We are uniquely placed because we experience this every day in our lives in the country. Uganda, as you may know, has 2 Rotaract clubs, made up of 100% refugees. One is in Nachivare, where we have the refugee camps, the border with Congo, and one in Zambia, Rotaract Club of Zambia, which we refer to as for urban refugees. When we were bidding to host this center, one of the issues at hand was that would you be able to support Africa? Will you be able to support this center? And as Anne will tell you and Helen, we have a 3-year rolling contract with Rotary International. It's not automatic, it's not perpetual that the center will remain on the African continent. If we don't show and demonstrate support in many ways, support not only financially, but support with Makerere University, the way it works, collaborating with South Africa and everybody, support of Rotarians in Uganda to host the beneficiaries or the trainees. You know, all this support as defined by Rotary International is important. So we hold the Africa Peace Concert mainly to address 3 issues. The direct one is to raise funds for the Rotary Foundation and the Africa Peace Fund. The second one is to raise funds to sustain the first African Rotary Peace Center at Makerere University. So, and the third, we have used this Africa Peace Concert to raise awareness and develop visibility of peace through all platforms, social media, webinars, talks, and also the concert. And as previous speakers have said, peace means different things to different people. So peace is not the absence of war, but we know as Rotarians, the 7 areas of focus we address under the foundation is to ensure that there is peace and world understanding. Because when there's not enough resource for water, clean water, there can be conflict in the community. When there's not enough, people are not earning a living, are waking up to do nothing and not earning a living, there will be conflict in the community. So peace is not the absence of war. Peace is when people are not at peace in their mind. So we held our first and second, and now we are going to hold a third Africa Peace Concert to achieve those 3 objectives I've highlighted. And the third one, the second one, we're lucky, we had the Rotary International president, the first female president of Rotary International, Jennifer Jones, as our guest of honor. And she trooped in Uganda with almost 200 Rotarians from Rotary International and the foundation. We had past RI directors, past trustees, current RI directors, current trustees, and it was a big concert. It was part of her visit to the region, to the Rotary world in Eastern Africa, and we raised $1.2 million from the second Africa Peace Concert for the Africa Peace Fund, where Rotary Peace Center of Makerere falls. And we had over 1,200 attendees from 31 countries. 500 of them attended virtually and 700 attended physically. We were very, very big on social media. We reached over 5 million people. And in the media in the region, we had big attendance. This year, we plan to have our target to raise $500,000 US. This year, we don't have the RI president. We don't have all those RI directors, past and present and trustees coming. But we want to build on the first 2 concerts to have the third one and raise at least $500,000 US to support the Africa Peace Fund. So what have we planned? We are planning a virtual attendance as last year. We are planning a physical attendance as last year. We have, the concert is quite interesting. And this year, on the 3rd edition, we are having Ghetto Kids performing at this concert. Ghetto Kids, when you Google them, Ghetto Kids from Uganda, we are runners-up at the just concluded British Has Got Talent in UK. But they say a story about peace, because these are kids that were picked from the ghetto, that are being rehabilitated, educated, and supported to become useful adults in the community. And one of the ways they are doing this, they sing and perform. And they performed their way to the finals of British Got Talent. They will be one of our performers. We shall have Rotarians perform. We shall have Makerere University perform from their School of Performing Arts. And we have other artists that are going to perform. So the cost of attending both virtual and physical is only $100. And the way to support the fund, and I would like to call you into action, the way to support the fund is you can support the fund 2 ways. One, you can pay $100 and come and have dinner and a concert physically at the Commonwealth Resorts in Munyonyo on the shores of the biggest freshwater lake in Africa, Lake Victoria. Or you can pay $100 and to go to the endowment fund, and you get a link to watch the concert virtually. So, and both ways you can register through our website, and the links are being shown on the screen, and we shall share them with the host so that you can share them widely in your district and among your networks. So, but the second way, you can donate to the Africa Peace Fund. You can donate to Makerere Peace Center. You can donate to past RI President-elect Samuel Woli Peace Fund. All that money goes to the African Fund. And we call upon members, you fill out, you go, and the link is there, you go to endowment and pick Africa Peace Fund. And that money between now and 15th November will be credited to the Africa Peace Fund for the purpose of supporting our center. So I wish to call you into action as Rotarians. You are promoters of peace. I've been encouraged to meet peacemakers. I loved the talk of saying we have to be intentional about peace. We have to mainstream it and be intentional in whatever we do. I want to invite you to join us to support, publicize the 3rd edition of Africa Peace Concert, and also support it by donating, by registering to attend virtually or physically, and by promoting and announcing it to other Rotarians and other friends who may not be Rotarians. Let us continue supporting our center on the African continent, but let us continue supporting peace, because this year alone, peace is eluding Africa in such a big way. Coups are like counter-coups on the continent, but also conflict is like counter-conflict in the conference, and still issues of the 7 areas of focus, where also peace and understanding gets challenged, are still big issues in Africa. Friends, that's the presentation, and I hope you can join us in the 3rd edition as we promote peace on the continent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, PDG Robert. That was really exciting. And I think if we can just promote the runners-up to Britain's Got Talent of those ghetto kids, I think we'll get a lot of support for them and your concert. It's pleasure is to introduce to you our District Governor-elect, Dr. George Senosha. So Dr. George Senosha is also our RYLA chair, and he's an amazing ambassador for peace. He is also heads up the Rotary Community Corps in the District 9400. And one of the things that he is passionate about when it comes to working with the youth and Rotary Community Corps is that each one that passes through that system has to undergo the Rotary Peace Academy training with the IEP. So everybody that attends RYLA or is involved in a Rotary Community Corps has got a certificate to say that they've attended. And I think that is a very vital part of peace building when Rotarians and community members understand what they in their own right can do to promote sustainable peace. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Dr. George Senosha. George?
Let me greet everyone, spicing my greetings with peace. And I say, fellow Rotarians, peace. I'm going to talk about what we do here in District 9400 and share with you the milestone that we have already achieved. I like what Michael said earlier when he said peace starts with me. But I go further to say peace is an inside job. It has to start from inside and it goes out. And that way we will have people grounded on the base of peace. So I got the privilege to be in both sides of the fence, bottom of the pyramid and top of the pyramid. Now my focus at the moment is bottom of the pyramid, coming from the Club of Waterkloof, which decided to be a peace club as well and pledging to take it forward. So what do we do? To start with, we make bottom of the pyramid people to understand that without respect, there is no peace, or there won't be peace. And without embracing the interculture, there won't be peace, and without enhancing diversity, equity, and inclusion. So those are the steps that we take when we speak to bottom of the pyramid people, so that they can understand that peace is not only about talking about it, but you have to act it as well. So what we do here in District 9400, we have started the initiative to go to hard to reach areas, which in turn is bottom of the pyramid, I would say. These hard to reach places are where huge problems are. As you know, that they are underprivileged, there are issues of poverty, drugs, and you name it. And that's where a lot of conflict is happening. So we have started establishing what we call the Rotary Community Corps. And the Rotary Community Corps is not only about serving or helping the community to serve themselves and solve their own problem in their communities, but also to tap in peace initiative and other initiatives that Rotary has got. As AG Grace said earlier, our club has adopted the notion of, if a new member is interested to join our club, the first thing that we do, we let them enroll on the IEB course, that's Rotary Positive Peace. And when they completed that course, we start the process of fireside chat. So that's how we base our club on peace. And people or members coming into our club, they come in knowing that we are a peace club, we want to be peaceful, and before they get in, also they must understand the peace cause. We do that with the Rotary Community Corps as well. Before we form the Rotary Community Corps, all the members has to enroll on this course, and they must have completed it successfully. And from there, we are ready to roll the Rotary Community Corps. Now, with respect, you can do everything. When a person is respected, I'm telling you, you won't have a problem with that person because he feels that his dignity has been respected or restored for that matter for bottom of the pyramid people. So we have to, at all times, know that even at schools, I went to school, never was it, did the school or the teachers mention the issue of peace those years when I was at school. The only time I heard about peace is when someone died and they will say, may your soul rest in peace. And that's when peace is being spoken about. In the household as well, peace is not spoken to children as well. But we expect them to understand peace. We expect them to act it and to behave accordingly. And that is a drawback as well, because what they are exposed to will actually overshadow the issue of the peace that we are advocating in those communities. So it will really promote communication, empathy, and cooperation, and a very important tool to resolve conflict peacefully. And moreover, respect will also talk to the rights of people as well, because if you respect someone, you will never harm that person. So I am appealing to Rotarians here who maybe have not started looking into that avenue of the Rotary Community Corps to please look into that. It's a very, very useful tool, because the people who cannot afford to pay dues, they get given the opportunity to know and understand what Rotary is all about. And also, it's a platform where you can tap into any organization in those areas, which I called hard to reach areas. South Africa, compared to the rest of the continent, when it comes to knowing about Rotary, is zero, especially in our Black communities. This avenue is engulfed with stigmas and all sorts of scary things. And we took the positive initiative to go and teach these people that you are actually running away from something that is going to save you from the situation where you are. The same as I come from the retail business. I took a Pick n Pay to those areas. And also there was stigmas where people were saying Pick n Pay is for the elite. So therefore you bring in the Pick n Pay here, to rip us off, because the prices are going to be very high because it's been organized for those elite people. But 2 years down the line, before I opened, they understood exactly what it meant. And also with Rotary, we're going to take that same approach that they must take in understanding what Rotary is all about. And the Rotary Community Corps is actually the ECD where they will understand what Rotary is all about. I will leave it there. And should you want to reach out to me, I'll put my numbers there. Let's communicate about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DGE George. And I think another thing for Rotary Community Corps, because in those areas where we reach out to other organizations, we're dealing with professional people as well. And that can also be a good source for promoting Rotary Peace Fellows, because they are people that are really doing the work and that could really benefit from applying to become a Rotary Peace Fellow. Before I open it for questions, I just want to ask PDG Robert if we attend online, the $100 that we pay to Rotary as a donation, obviously we're not getting a meal like the people that are going in person, but does that $100 then count for our contribution to the Rotary Foundation, and then in turn also for our club? Because if we're doing it in our personal capacity, obviously the club benefits. If you could just answer that question for me.
Yes, Rotarian Grace, you do get recognition by Rotary Foundation and your club, and also on your personal Rotarian account, which you can print and see. It doesn't contribute to you becoming a Paul Harris Fellow, but that money is considered if you are trying to become a major donor, level 1, level 2, or level 0. It's taken into account when they are aggregating money for major donorship. But you are recognized, the club recognized, and the district is also recognized.
Thank you very much. So that should be an incentive for everyone that is not attending in person to actually attend the concerts for $100. And we will start extensively advertising your concert on the 3rd of November within our district and the 2 other districts that we shared this invitation with. I would like to thank you all for your time this evening. Thank you very much, DGE George, for being here. Les from the E-Club, Anne, Professor Helen, and Dr. PDG Roberts. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing this amazing opportunity with us. And also thank you to our chair of the Rotary Action Group for Peace.